Hey everybody, it's Helen Moses, your voice and messaging coach. I am here with Caitlyn Masters, who is a speech language pathologist working in the rehab hospital at Wake Med here in Raleigh. Welcome, Caitlyn. Thank you for being here.
Hey Helen, thanks for having me.
I'm really glad you're here because as I've talked to you and as people who are watching know, I have been on a mission as my 50th birthday approaches. It's actually 2 days away. It's Thursday. I've been on a mission to raise awareness about aphasia because something like 85% of Americans have no clue what aphasia is and how destructive it can be to someone's life. And my other goal, in addition to raising awareness, is to raise money for Triangle Aphasia Project, or TAP, which is right in our own backyard in Cary and does some phenomenal things for people who have aphasia and for their families. And it allows other people in the community to get involved as well, which is why you're here, because I wanted you, if you would, tell us a little bit about what you do in the hospital, the types of patients that you work with, and we'll just start with that.
Well, so I work currently on the rehab hospital and I see traumatic brain injury, strokes, any degenerative diseases, really anything. But my primary population right now is traumatic brain injury. So we do see a ton of aphasia in that population.
Yeah. What are some of the things that you see them struggle with or have the biggest challenges with while they're in your unit?
I think from what I notice is the patients have such a hard time communicating their wants and needs to staff. So, in particular, the medical staff, that have to interact with them on a daily basis, medicine and toileting and food options. Oftentimes I feel like we don't do a good enough job educating the staff how they can communicate with these patients that may be having difficulty with one language modality and need stuff written down or need visual aids or need choices. Just in the basic, from when they wake up to when they go to bed at night, needs.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I remember when I worked at Wake Med in the neurocare unit, um, just the basic things like you just talked about, getting something to eat, taking care of your bodily needs, getting help.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
It is. It's hard, and they need a voice. And a lot of times that's where, I come in trying to figure out their strengths and weaknesses. And then we have to kind of communicate with the nurses, if you're coming in and trying to ask them something, write it down or give them choices, give them time. Because it
Yeah.
can take a little while and people just, I feel like, are unfamiliar.
Mm-hmm. And that's one of the things that, as you know, TAP does is it teaches people how to speak aphasia. They have their own class about that Mara Silverman has put together, the executive director over there. What's another example of something, how you've used TAP to serve the patients and the families that you have had encounters with?
Well, like you said, taking Maura's class really kind of changed my framework of how I help people communicate better who have aphasia, incorporating things that are functional to them and meaningful, obviously, serves more benefit to them than these structured aphasia tasks that we often learn how to do in school. And so I try to always, get in touch with family members and figure out what makes this person who they are, and then incorporate it into my sessions with them, providing as much written support or visual aids as I need. But you always just see their spirit brighten up a little more. And then the engagement is what we want, just helping them communicate.
Mm-hmm. Wonderful. Is there tell the people who are watching a little bit about how long people typically stay, because I want to follow up with another question, but how long do they typically stay? And
Not long enough.
how quickly, not long enough, how long after their stroke or their brain injury do you typically start working with them?
So I usually get patients anywhere from like 2 to 4 weeks after their injury, sometimes sooner. But then I usually only get to work with them maybe a couple weeks, a month or more if I'm lucky. And it always depends on the nature of their other deficits. If they're walking around but they have aphasia, they don't get to stay long enough to really get into the nitty gritty of the treatment for their aphasia. So that, unfortunately, insurance kind of limits that, and they look at, they typically focus a lot on the mobility aspect of the patient's progress versus,
Which mobility is important. I'm not denying that, but I think the system is a little bit messed up because you've got, communication is just, it's so fundamental to existing.
Exactly. It's really skewed.
Yeah, which is another reason why TAP is so brilliant, because its work is based on all the research of all the neuroplasticity that has been discovered since I was a speech therapist in the hospital. When I was there, I learned, maybe after a year max, that's about all the new language skills you could expect to learn. That's a long time.
Exactly.
But that's no longer the case. It's very exciting.
Yeah.
And I've talked to people who have continued to regain skills, and TAP provides an opportunity and an environment for people with aphasia to continue to build those neural connections and
absolutely
build new pathways to develop their language skills and maintain who they are, just like you were talking about.
Absolutely.
It's not just a matter of being able to recite random non-connected sentences or find name pictures. It's a matter of being able to find the language that you need to talk about what you love and talk with the people that you love.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's where I think that whole program that Maura has started really helps fill in the gap for these people who need extensive rehab, but they're not getting it, and to kind of carry the torch afterwards. But also, in a more meaningful way, like the community environment and the support group, and, they have an opportunity to be in a safe place where they can practice communicating with others despite maybe their challenges. It's a safe place. And
that safe place is important. And I bet you find that your patients that you treat in the hospital are feeling more safe with you than they may with some of the other medical staff, because you probably understand what they're trying to say more so than anyone else.
Completely.
Yeah. So it's great that the TAP, as you said, is a safe place, and it provides what's really, I find the most wonderful thing about it is for someone who is dealing with aphasia, who's feeling isolated, who's so incredibly frustrated that they can know what they want to say, but they cannot make those words happen. And just living with that frustration day in and day out, that they can come to TAP and be sitting around the table with other people who are going through exactly the same thing.
Exactly.
And their family members get to sit next to other family members while the sessions are going on, and develop friendships and understanding, and know that there are other people who know what they're going through. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, is there anything else you'd like to share? I know that this has just been a campaign to help raise awareness. What would you say to people? I'll give you one more question. What would you say to people? Why is it important for us to understand what aphasia is?
It's so hard to explain aphasia, and until you have someone that is going through it. And, it's so easy to see, oh, limb weakness, you can see it. Aphasia is just harder to understand until it happens to someone you know or love. And you need to figure out how to advocate for these people's recovery, but also, just know that their voice isn't lost. Especially in the medical field, we need to do a better job educating the staff how to be flexible in their communication. And it's not all verbal, it's not all written. It's all these different ways that we need to be creative and flexible and allow it, because it's not about, loss of intelligence, like, we all know. It's about just loss of, misuse of their language, and kind of just making sure people aren't lost in the system, that they like you said, they do have opportunity to grow and improve. We just have to provide that support for them.
Yeah. Yeah. And in today's world, with limited number of speech therapy visits per insurance and, out of pocket costs, it's great to have a place like TAP where one session is just $5.
Mm-hmm.
And there are funds for people who can't even afford that.
Yes. I'm so thankful.
Yeah, me too. And I'm thankful for you, Caitlyn. Thank you so much for this time. Is there anything else you would like to say before we stop?
Go TAP. Everybody utilize TAP. It's such an awesome program, and I'm so grateful to have it as a resource for my patients.
That's awesome. Thank you so much. Everyone, I'll put the link if you're so inclined to donate to my birthday fundraiser. Again, this is my last Tap Tuesday video, but it is Tap Tuesday. Yay! And this has been really fun to bring different perspectives and help raise awareness and help raise a little bit of money for Triangle Aphasia Project. I am honored that I am in a position to do this, and thrilled that I can, and that I get to meet people like Caitlyn along the way. All right, everyone take care. You all have a great evening. And remember this too, I wanted to say this too, because it is election day and everyone is using their voice to vote, which I hope you have, all of you out there. When you have aphasia, think about that. You can't do it because of at the beginning, the ballot is so confusing. You've got to read it, you've got to process things. And you probably could if you had someone to hold your hand and get the right assistance. And I think that's legally allowed, but it's just things like that we tend to take for granted. I just don't want people to do that. So the polls are closed here in North Carolina. It's too late to vote tonight. But again, thank you, Caitlyn, and to everyone else, have a good night. We'll talk again soon.